Hey, what's up guys? Clint here, back with another video. And here lately, I've been learning Tailwind CSS. I've always been a huge fan of writing my own custom CSS and really staying away from these CSS frameworks, but I'm really loving Tailwind. There's so many customizable options. It's really powerful. It's really fun to use. And once you pick it up, it's really not hard to learn. You can learn it really in a day or so. And it's increased your speed developing like 10x. So here's what we're going to be building, and we're going to be building this in React JS. I've been using Tailwind all my React projects here lately, so I'm really loving it. But here's what we're going to be building. We're going to be building 3 different login templates here. So this is the first one, and you have a nice little image here on the left here, and then our form on the right have some hover effect, and we'll be writing 0 custom CSS in this video. It's all going to be Tailwind, 100% Tailwind. So here we have our nice image here. It's going to take the full width and height of the screen. We're going to have an overlay feature, so I'll show you how to use that in Tailwind. Also, we're going to be using React icon dependency we're going to install to get our icons here with a nice little hover effect you can see on our shadow here. So, and then scrolling down to our last one, have our nice little centered login form here in the middle, image on the left here, and everything displays nicely here. So, and like I said, everything is going to be mobile responsive. So if we scroll this down, boom, I'm going to show you how we can do our media queries and Tailwind. So, and we're just going to make everything look just beautiful here. So without further ado, let's jump in. So to get started here, I'm just going to scroll that down here. Now we are in VS Code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and see, I'm on my desktop here, and I'm going to be using Yarn. So I've been using NPM, so I just wanted to give Yarn a try, and so far I like it. It's pretty fun. It seems to be a little bit quicker than Node Package Manager. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type yarn, and then we're going to create, and then we're going to leave a space here, and then type React-app. I'm just going to call this Login React App. Go ahead and press enter. This will only take a second, you guys. Like I said, yarn really does seem to be a lot faster than NPM, so that's why I'm enjoying it so far. They say there's some like security features as well. To be honest, I don't really know what these are, but I can say this is a little bit quicker. All right, it says happy hacking. That means we're ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and pull over the folder we just created, the login React app here. Now I'm going to press the Control Backtick button to open up my terminal, and I'm going to type in yarn start. It's going to be this same as npm start, and we're going to start up our development server. Yes, there we go. And we're going to be working out this source folder right here, you guys, just within here. So don't worry about anything else. This should just display our boiler code here for create React app. Now I'm going to delete a few things that we will not be using. The app.css, app.test, logo, report web files, and setup test. We're going to remove those. We are going to leave the index.css. So let's go ahead and remove those. We're going to get some errors. That's okay. So let's go into our index.js. It's looking for our report web files. So let's just delete that there. Now in our app.js, we can go ahead and remove this. And we can remove that since we're going to be using Tailwind, and delete that. So it should just be a blank page here. I'm going to type my H1 hello, should show up. There we go. And all right, so what we need to do, first we're going to install Tailwind. So let's go here over here. It's going to be tailwindcss.com, and go ahead and click get started. Now we're going to be using a framework since we're using React.js. So we're going to go to the create React app, and this is it right here. So we already created our app, and you can just copy this here if you're using NPM. I'm using Tailwind or Yarn, so I'm going to go ahead and just copy that there. And I'm going to create a new terminal here. And I'm going to type yarn add. There we go. Then next, we're going to want the npx Tailwind CSS init. That's going to create our tailwind.config file. There it is right there. Then we go to our packages, and there's Tailwind CSS right there. Perfect. All right. Now it wants us to do a couple more things here. So we're just going to copy that and place it inside. This is inside our Tailwind config file. So right there inside of content. Perfect. And we're going to add this to our index.css file. That's why we left that one up. So in here, we can actually select all this and just delete it. We're not going to be using it. And we'll just replace it with our Tailwind text there. So let's go ahead and close that. Now let's go back to our application here. There we are. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and close this. Doesn't seem to be working. I'm going to go ahead and close this and just restart it. So I'm going to press the Control C. Now let's type in yarn start. want our Tailwind to be working. Oh, yes. This should just look like plain text, you guys, until we style it. There we go. Perfect. That's what we want right there. We said to restart our server. So now we can do some Tailwind. We can type in text XL to increase the size. Boom. And even font bold. We'll make it bold there. So, and notice this, you guys, this IntelliSense, guys, if you're going to be using Tailwind, you have to download this extension. It's the Tailwind, where's it at? There, the CSS IntelliSense, and basically gives you suggestions on what to fill in. This will save you so much time, you guys. Trust me. Don't try it without it, especially if you're just learning Tailwind. It's going to save you so much time. Okay, so that's what we want right there. Perfect. Now, since we're going to be creating our login forms here, I'm going to go ahead and put them in the source folder. I'm going to create a folder called assets, and we're going to have just 2 pictures here that I'm going to throw in there. And then also we're going to have a components folder, and the components I'm just going to throw in here our login pages here. So for our first one, I'm going to create Login.Jsx. All right, and I'm going to go and type RFC to generate my functional component here, just exported here at the top. Now, what I am going to do is I'm going to pull over the files we're going to be using. So I'm going to put those right here. And if you want, I'm going to put a link to my GitHub in the description below, so you can use the exact same images if you want. If you want to go to like Pexels or Unsplash for some different stock images, you can do that as well. I think I grabbed both of these from Pexels, so feel free to use those or use your own. So let's go ahead and go into our app.js here, and we're going to import our login here. And it's not wanting to auto import it. Sometimes we can just press the control space. Nope, no suggestions. That's okay. Import login from components / login. There we go. All right, so in our login file here. So the first one we're going to be building here is this right here. We're going to have a grid system with the image on the left and our form on the right. So there we go. And I'm going to go ahead and keep it in like this here. So what we're going to do here, we'll start out with this outer div here. We're going to have a class name of grid, and a grid calls one. So the way Tailwind works is it goes by min width. For responsiveness, it goes by the minimum width here. So what I want to say is we want this display. We're going to do a mobile first styling here. So what we're going to have is grid column set to 1, and then after the dimension of small, which I believe small is 640 pixels in Tailwind. So after small, we're going to go up to grid column 2. There we go, and that'll make a lot more sense when we have some more information here on this page. So for our next div, we can create one here, and in here this is going to be our image container. So we're going to have our image. And let's go ahead and import our image right now. So I'm going to use this login image here. So we can import, I'm just going to call it login img from, it's going to be in our assets folder, login.jpg. There we go. And we can just delete those close. We're going to bring in some curly brackets here. Login img. There we go. So now we can see our image. And there, okay, now you can kind of explain our grid template columns is at 2, and then once we get under 640, it goes down to 1 there. So this is our image container here, and then after this, we're going to have another div here. This is going to contain our form. So inside our form, we're going to have an sorry, we don't need these, but we're going to have an H2 at the top of our form here. And this is going to just say, I'll say brand. There we go. And then just below the H2, we're going to have a div with our label in here. We can actually delete that. And our label is going to be for the username. Then below the label, we're going to have an input. There we go. And let's go ahead and copy this down for our password box here. And we'll just change this password. Well, we can change this to password as well. And then just below here, we're going to need our button. So let's do a button, and this would be sign in. There we go. And then below our button, we're going to have our, remember me here, and then also a create account. So underneath here, we're going to have a p tag and a input with a checkbox. Go. We can delete this stuff and make it minimal here for this tutorial. And then in here, we're going to say, remember me. And then also p tag, they're going to say sign, well, create an account. Create an account. All right, so let's start styling this thing here. We'll style it mobile first. So what we can do, we're going to say for this image here, or for this div completely, give this a class name. And what we want to say is, actually I want to hide this since we're doing mid-width first. So hidden, but on small screens, we want to display block. So this is the IntelliSense working there, you guys. That's perfect. So let's open up some. Boom, there you go. Perfect, just like that. Now, what we want to do, we want to give this outer div here a full width of the screen and the full height. And say you're like, oh man, how do I do that? So it's really easy to learn, but if you don't know, you just go into Tailwind CSS. And this is why their documentation is so great. It's super easy to use. So I can just type in, let's delete this, height. Like, how do I make the, there we go, height. If I was wondering, how do I make this the full height of the screen? That gives you some documentation here. The H1 would be 0.25. H4 is 1 rem. But we can go all classes. We can scroll down here, and what we're going to use is H screen. So right here is the height, 100%, or that's 100 viewport heights. So what we can say here, I'm just going to put it right here, H screen, then the width full is equal to the width 100%. There we go. So very, very easy to use, very, very user-friendly. You can just type in everything you need to know. And I've been able to find an answer within like seconds here. So that's what we want right here. So the height of the screen and full width, there we go. Now let's go into our image here. Now for our image, we give this a class name with a full, H fulls, we're going to take it 100%. Then object is going to be cover. Go. And that's what we want right there. So let's go ahead and just finish up this kind of mobile first approach. That's really all we need to do on the left side anyways. So for this div, this is going to be the container of our form. Let's give it a background, your class name. Let's give it a background of gray. And then gray, we can go through 100 to 900. So this will be 100 right here. You can barely tell, it's just a little bit different. Then you go to 900, it's a lot darker here. So what I'm going to do is 100, and we want this to display as flex. I'm going to give it a flex column. And let's justify things to here to the center. Boom, there we go. All right. Now, in our form here, what I want to do, give this class name. We'll say max width. There we go. And you can actually open up some curly brackets and you can type in the exact amount of pixels you want here. So I want to say 400 pixels for a max width. There we go. If you want, you can use pesticides, an awesome Chrome extension here. It's a really, really handy tool for developers. You can actually see the outlines of everything there. So I'll leave that on for just a moment. So what we want is width to be full, and margin on the X here, X-axis, is going to say auto. See, the X is long ways, and the Y is the height here. And we'll say BG white. If we give it a padding of 4, which is actually 1 rem. So P4 is 1 rem. If you were to do P8, that would be 2 rem since it goes by 4s here. So I'm going to leave it at P4, 1 rem. Now for our brand here, this is going to be like a logo or text or something here. So let's give this class name. We'll do text probably like 4 or 5 XL. Let's see how this looks. We're going to do font bold. And boom, there it is. And we can do text center. I think that looks pretty good there. Now let's just give it a padding of 6, should be about 1.5 rem on the y-axis there, just padding on top and bottom. Now for this div here, I want to style both these at the same time. So a little trick here in VS Code. See here my cursor, if I hold down the Alt button on my keyboard, I can actually type in 2 places at once. So this will save you a lot of time. Very nice trick here. So we're going to display this as flex with a flex column, and whoops there. I'm going to get padding. This should be about 0.5 rem on top and bottom there. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these lines so we can see what we're doing there. So starting to come together here, still need to style these inputs. So let's go ahead and do the same thing here. I'm going to use this Alt button here just to save some time. And then class name, and we're going to say border, and we'll say P2 for some padding. And if you don't specify the X or Y, it applies to both. So that's padding on the top and bottom, left and right there at 0.5 rem there. So that's what we want there. Now for our button, let's style this button here. Give it a border. I'm going to be width of full. I want the margin on the Y up top and bottom to be 5. That's 1.25 pixels here. Now also padding, I want to say 0.5 rem, top and bottom, thicken up that button there. Now for the color, I'm going to do BG Indigo, and I'm going to use 600. There we go. Very nice there. And the way we're going to do it, we want a hover effect. The way we use hover in Tailwind, you use the hover keyword. Very simple, just like that, with a colon there. And then we can say BG Indigo, and I want to make it just a shade lighter. So let's have a look. There you go. Nice little hover effect there. And let's just make our text white. There we go. Perfect. That's what we want so far. And now this, we want this to display, we're going to display it as flex, and I want to justify between. So this remember me stays over here, and this create an account we want right over here on the right. So let's go ahead and do that next. So this div here, let's give it a class name, a flex, and we can justify between. Should be good. There we go. Perfect, perfect. And this is a little off center there. I know you might not be able to tell too well, but I can, and it would bug me. So let's go into this p tag. So our input, this little checkbox, is inside our p tag here. So I'm going to display this as flex. Whoops. I'm going to display this as flex, and then we can just say items center, and boom, there it goes. It evens it out just perfectly there. And also, we're probably going to want to give just a little bit of margin there. So let's do, we can actually say, if we don't want margin on the left and right, we can just say margin R for margin right. And then I can say like something like 2, so like 0.5 rem. So let's have a look at that. See, margin right 2. Oh, here we go. So that needs to go in our input and not our whole, our p tag here. So that's what that issue was. Let's go ahead and delete that. So for our input here, class name, and what we're going to say is MR2 for margin right 2. That should slide it over just a bit, just like that. So let's go ahead. I think that's it, you guys. See, that's how easy Tailwind is and how powerful it is. That's how fast you can design something just like this. Boom. So we already have a full login screen coded up in almost no time at all. So that's the first one right there, you guys. I hope you like it. Let's move on to the second one here. So the second one that we're going to be building, there we go. This is the second one we're building. We're going to be using the same image to take up the full width and height of the screen, and we're going to put an overlay on it, and then this here in the middle with our icons, React icons that we're going to install. Let's drop that down and go in here. So what I'm going to do in our app.js, I'm actually going to just kind of cancel that there, hide it out so we can't see it, and let's go into our components folder here. I'm going to create login2.jsx. And I'm just going to type get my functional component here. And in here, we can bring in login2. It's not going to let me auto import it. That's okay. Let's go ahead and copy that down. We'll just login2. There we go. Now, there we go. Login2. Perfect. So for login2, like I said, we want this that image to take up the full width of the screen. Let's go ahead and bring in that image here. So image, and what we can call it login image. From, let's go into our, there we go. Sorry about that. Import, and this is going to be assets. And login.jpg. That's what we want right there. Perfect, perfect. All right, so for our outer div here, we want this, that's going to be our outer div, and then we're going to have our image in here. And bring in login. IMG. I'm just putting this so React will throw fits at you if you don't have your alt tag in there. So that's what we're doing that for. Now we want this to take up the full width of the screen. So how do we do that? We're going to take up this this outer div here. We're going to give it a class name of relative with full width, full in H screen, which is 100% viewport heights here. If we hover over it now, we can actually see it tells us what it is, it defines it. So that's really helpful right there, relative, position relative. So that's what we want right there. Very, very nice. Now, I'm also going to give this a background. This is going to be our overlay. I'm going to use this Zinc 900. There we go. And actually, so if we go ahead and hide this, I'm going to go ahead and hide this image here. Here. I'm just going to comment this image out so we can actually see. This is what we're styling right here. So if we drop this down to 100, it'd be kind of like a light gray. Yeah, you can barely even see it. So I'm gonna leave it 900. And the way we can do opacity, which like an alpha and CSS, we can just put a slash here, and I'm gonna use 90. Boom. So if you see, we go down to 50, it'd be a lot more see-through, like a gray. There you go, perfect. So I'm gonna use 90 in this tutorial here. So let's go ahead and uncomment out this image. And now we want this image, we're gonna have to do some styling on the image. We want it to be positioned as absolute. So let's do our class name. We want this to be absolute with full, height full, and object cover. There we go. If we use object cover, it stretches it out so we can actually see it properly instead of like skewing it all nasty there. So that's why we like the object cover. But now we can't see we don't have our overlay. So at first I was going to use Z-index and it wasn't working properly. And I found out we need to use a mix blend overlay. So what I'm going to do is on this image here, I'm going to type mix blend overlay. It's kind of confusing how it works, but it gets the job done. So that's what we want right there. Let's go out to full screen here. Boom, there we go. Very, very nice. That's what we want right there. Now we just want to style our input or our form right there on top is what we're going to be doing. So let's go ahead and we go underneath our image here. I'm just going to put a little space here. So for our div, this is going to be our form container there. And then we're going to have our form. And I hate these action things. We don't need that right now. Not in this tutorial here. So we're going to have an H2 and we'll say, this be our brand here. Then underneath our H2, well, we're going to have a div, and we're going to have these buttons here, these buttons here. So that's just going to be some p tags that we're going to put a border on. So we're going to put that inside this div. There we go. P tag, and this will say, I'll put there icon, Facebook, copy that down, Google, there we go. And we'll come back and get our icons here in just a little bit. So that's what we want right there. Then next, let's do our labels here. Outside of this div, we're going to have a div with our label. And let's get rid of this just to keep it clean. This is going to be a username. Alrighty. And then our input. There we go. Now we can copy that down. And this will be our password. Boom, there we go. All right. Now underneath that, we're going to want our button. So we're going to leave that inside of there. Sign in. Make that capitalized. There we go. We'll sign in. And then what do we need underneath our button? We're going to have that remember me there. And then we're going to have this not a member sign up now here. So let's go ahead and put these inside our form here. So we're going to have a p tag with have our checkbox here. So let's do our input checkbox, and then we'll say complete that there. And it's going to say remember me, and the next one is going to be not a member. Sign up now. All right. That's what we want right there. Now let's go into our form, our container here around our form. And basically we want this to display as flex and justify it to this, we'll probably want it to the center. There we go. Perfect. And we also going to want to put items center, and that's going to be align center. Oh, we need to give it a height here. Boom, there we go. Perfect. Now for our form, let's give it a, we're going to want to do a max width, and to open up our curly brackets, we're going to do 400 pixels there at a max width, and the width to be full, and then MX auto, let's put it right there. There we go. Perfect. And let's do a background of white, And let's do a padding of 8. There we go, starting to come there. And for our H2, we'll do the same. We'll do text, is it 5XL? Let's do 4XL. Let's do 4XL, font, bold, and then text center. So much quicker than writing custom CSS, you guys. I'm loving Tailwind. Honestly, it's been awesome here. So that looks good there. Probably want to give it some padding. So let's do PY8 for 2 rem on the top and bottom. Boom, there you go. And so for our divs here, what we're going to want to do, let's shrink that down. So I'm going to drop it down to 4. There you go. That was a little bit too much. There we go. So for this, we want this to display as flex here. So let's give this a flex and justify. We want this, whoops, we want this to be between. Boom, there we go. Now, let's go ahead and get our React icons. Now will be a good time. So let's go into our terminal here, and I'm going to type in yarn add react-icons for using npm to just be npm install react icons. So type yarn add react icons. There we go. And I'm going to go into React icons over here. Really, really great. You can search whatever you want to use. Like I said, if you're using a hamburger button or something like that, I'm going to use Google. Boom, there it is right there. Just click it and it will automatically copy for you. Then I'm going to go in here and I'm just going to replace this icon. Whoops. I'm going to delete that. And the way we use this, we're going to open up some some tags here. Just paste it right in there. We can close it off. Now we need to import it as well. So the way we import React icons, import, open up the curly brackets. I'm just going to paste that FC Google from React-icons. And then for React icons, you have to add this pretext when you're importing it. So just FC right there. And there, boom, there's our little icon. Perfect. So let's go ahead and get a Facebook icon as well. Facebook. And I'll just use this AI fill Facebook square there. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this back down. Now, to my knowledge, you got to import them if they have different text, pretext there. You got to import them on a separate lines there. So, but it's going to be the same from React icons dash AI. Now, let's go down here and I'll just replace our, where's our icon at? There it is. There. Open up our tags. Boom. And there's our React icon. Perfect. That's what we want. Now, let's go. We have justify between. Now, let's give this some padding. 8. There we go. Now, let's style these little boxes here. So, the way we're going to do that, I'm going to use my Alt button on the keyboard here so we can type in 2 lines at the same time. Let's give this a class name. We're going to give it a border, then a shadow. This is how we do our box shadow. And you can do LG, MD, shadow. There you go. So small. I'm going to use large here. Boom. There we go. You still can't really see it. And I'm going to give this a hover effect to be 2XL. So hover, shadow. And we'll just use XL actually. And we're going to use padding on the left and right, 6, and PY on the top and bottom. We'll leave to 2. There we go. Now, okay, so you see this is this mixed blend overlay here. So it's actually, you can't really even see the border. You're just seeing right through this. So what we need to do is just position this. Real easy fix. We just need to position this as relative. And boom, it sits on top there. So I don't know why that is, to be honest with you guys. I'm sorry, I wish I had an explanation. That's just how it seems to be there. So what we're also want to do is just put it as flex here. And put my Alt button out. Oh, dang it. Alt button here. There we go. And we're going to put it as flex. And we can just align item center. And let's see. Boom. There we go. It's perfect. And those look kind of stuff together there. We probably want to give that a little bit of margin on the right there. So we can actually close as React icons. So let's just give this icon here. Use my button here again. Class name. And we can just do margin right 2 for 0.25. That should be enough right there. That's perfect. All right. So let's go down here and style our labels and inputs here. So for these divs, here comes out the control button again here, and we're going to give this a class name of flex, and we're going to do flex column, and then we're probably going to do, you know, just on this top one here, I'm going to use margin bottom 4, which is just going to be 1 rem, just to push that down a little bit. Now for our inputs, can't see them. That's just the how Tailwind does it in the beginning until you give it some styles. And this is why I love Tailwind, you guys. There's so much customization that you can do. It's really, really great. And also here you can see it's see-through as well. So let's give that the relative keyword there. And boom, there you go. That fixes that right there. So yeah, I'm loving Tailwind, you guys. You can do so much with it, and it's so much faster, as you can see here. So I'm just gave this a little 100 there just to let it stand out just a little bit there. And we'll do padding on all sides to be 2, which is 0.5 rem. Perfect, perfect. So I think that looks good there. Let's hit our button here. So for our button, the class name, we're going to say width, going to be 100%, which is width full, W full. And we'll do PY, so padding on the top and bottom. We have 3, which is like 0.75 rem, I believe here. That's right, 0.75 rem. Then let's do a margin top of 8, 2 rem. And for our BG indigo for our background, and I'm going to use that 600 again there, perfect. And let's do our hover effect to make it 1 shade lighter. We'll just do 5. So, and there it is, our button. We need to put it a relative, kind of a cool effect, but not for this one here. So let's just give that a relative positioning. And there we go, and that fixes that. And of course we need some white text there. There we go. And let's have a look. So what we still need to do is this down here. And how are we going to do this? So we want that just to be pushed down a little bit. So let's go in here. Let's do a margin right. There we go. Perfect. And I'm going to go ahead and give that what we did on that last one. So flex and item center. There we go. I just moved it down just a tiny bit, but I can still tell, and it bugs me here. So for our text here, we want this to be at the bottom and also in the center. So let's give it a text center, and let's just give it a margin top of 8. Boom, that's looking good right there. So let's open this up to full screen, you guys. Oh, there it goes. Let's see if it should look about the same. There it is. Perfect, man. That's what we want right there. It's a little bit different. We can put a little margin on the top of that. Let's do that right now. And I think that'll finish it up. So, and that's the checkbox here. So this right here, we can just say margin top 2 for 0.5 rem. Boom, just like that. That is looking perfect, you guys. That is our second login template. You see how fast this is using Tailwind CSS. Awesome, awesome tool, you guys. It's free to use. So, I mean, why would you not take advantage of this? It's incredible. So for our last one here, our login 3, let's go ahead and just delete those. And I'm going to create our final component, login 3.jsx and RAFC, our export. And let's go in here and we can go ahead and comment that one out as well. I don't know why. Okay, so I just press Control spacebar, and it'll let me auto import it there. It gives me the suggestion at least here. So for login 3, let's go down here. This is what we want. Let's open this up. So what we want to basically center this in the middle of the page using the grid, and we're going to have an image on the left here. So let's go ahead and we can go ahead and style it mobile first here. Remember, Tailwind uses the min-width approach here. So this is the import. Let's import this photo right here, the trees. So we're going to be using that. So we'll just call it trees from assets, and it's called trees.jpg. Perfect. That's what we want right there. So this one's going to be a fun one here. So what we're going to do here on this div, this is going to be the full width of the screen here. Then inside here, it's going to be our box. Then we're going to have a div on the left. This is going to be our image. And trees, it's going to be our image. And then our div on the right is going to have our form in here. We can delete that there. Inside our form, we want to have the H2. So inside our form, we're going to have an H2 with the brand. Boom, there we go. Then just under that, we're going to have a div with our input. We can just copy that down. This next one can be password. So we're not using a label on these, but we are going to use a placeholder. So placeholder is going to be username. And this placeholder is going to be password. There we go. Now underneath this input here, and still within our form, we're going to have our button that says sign in. There we go. Then just below our button, still inside this form, we want to have the forgot username or password here. Forgot username or password. And then just outside of the form, we'll have our sign up text there. So let's open this up, and it looks really crazy because we haven't done any styling yet. So let's go ahead and do our styling. And so for this outer one here, we want this to be class name. This is our furthest parent div. Width full. We want the height to be full width of the screen. So we say height screen. There we go. And let's display this as flex. All right. And this div here, this is going to be our box showing in the middle. So let's give this a class name of grid. And we want it to say grid template columns, or sorry, grid columns 1. Then anything beyond medium, was where we do our media queries here. Anything beyond medium, which I believe is like 768 pixels, somewhere around there. I might be off, but anywhere we want to have our grid columns to be 2. There we go. And let's just have a look. Boom, there we go. Now we don't want this to show up at all. Actually, we want this div here. We don't want this div at all, this left side, to show up at all when we're on the smaller devices. Anything below 768 or below our medium width here, we do not want this left side to show up at all. So the way we do that, we're just to say hidden, just like the other one, and then we can say medium, anything below above medium, just position block there, display block. So this should, whoop, hate doing that one. So as we open up, we should see. Right now we just have one box. As we open up, boom, there it is. Perfect. That's what we want right there. So next thing, what we're going to want to do, let's give this thing a margin auto, and I'm going to give it a height of, let's see, 550 pixels, and let's give it a shadow, keep doing that, shadow LG. And let's do a, give this a shadow color here. Shadow gray 600. Boom, there it is. Looking nice, looking nice. And then on small, max width, let's do, so anything above small, we want the max width to be 900 pixels. Whoa, there we go. That's what we want right there. Our image is displaying a little funky, but that's what we want. Let's have a look. That looks about right. So we want our image to be contained inside that left side there. So let's go have a look at that. I'm just gonna leave that open just for now. So for our image container on the div here, for our image container on the div, what we're gonna say, we can just put it right before this hidden stuff. We want the width to be full and H to be, we'll make it the same, 550 pixels. There we go. All right, now for our class name on our image, width full, height full. Let's see how that works. Ooh, that looks nice. Let's have a look. Boom, okay. Still need to make some adjustments here, but that's looking good. That's looking good so far. Now let's go into our right side of the screen here. So our div here that's surrounding our form, we want to say this, let's give it a padding on all four sides of one rim. There we go. We want to say flex want this to be a flex column, then let's justify around. There we go. That's going to be looking good. Now for our form, we can skip the form. Let's go to H2. And what are we using? Text 4XL, font bold, and text center. So what is 4XL? Let's see. 2.25 rem and a line height of 2.5 rem. So cool, it has both of those. That's really, really convenient. So we're looking at about 36 pixels there. So that looks nice. So let's give this a margin on the bottom of 8, which is 2 rem. Boom, just to give it some space. Now for our div here, we could actually probably leave that. I think that's going to be good. Let's just style our inputs. I'm going to use my alt button here. So what I'm going to say is we're going to give this a border. And let's give it a padding of 0.5 on the top and bottom. There we go. And we'll say for this first one only, just to give it a little bit of space. That's what we want. That's perfect. And this is displaying this is how easy it is doing a mobile first design in Tailwind. By the way, if you're not familiar with mobile first design, basically all it means is that we're developing this primarily to be viewed on smaller devices, on mobile devices, but we also want to make sure it looks nice on large devices as well. So basically that's all mobile first approach is, if you hear that term. So for our button, I think that's good for our inputs here. For our button, let's go ahead and style that thing. So let's give that a class name of width full. We'll do py2, then margin y4, and let's give this thing bg. Let's use the green here, and let's use 600, see how that is. All right, now let's give it our hover effect. If you remember that, hover, boom, hover, bg, green 500. And you see how handy this Tailwind CSS IntelliSense comes in. Saves you so much time, you guys. So that's looking good there. Now what we're going to want to do, let's have a look. Want to center this and then just kind of bump that down. So let's go ahead and give this a text center, and this one down here. Boom, there we go. Now let's open this up to full width. I think that might be it, you guys. Boom, there it is. That's looking nice. And then we can drop this down. Anything below medium, boom, drops down to one column here, and it displays perfectly. Let's go ahead and uncomment our other login forms here. Scroll up to the top. So this is our first one. We're just gonna scroll through everything. That concludes our video today, guys. Check this out. So this is our first login template that we built. We have our image here on the left, and then we're using the grid system, our form here on the right. Now scrolling down here, we have our image that we threw in using Tailwind CSS to use the overlay with a mixed overlay feature there, mixed blend overlay. So remember, we got to use that relative positioning so things weren't transparent. So that is looking nice there. Everything is looks just great on mobile devices as well. And let's scroll down here, boom, to our last one we just did. Everything displays just beautifully here. So guys, like I said, I'm having a lot of fun using Tailwind CSS. As you can see, it saves so much time over writing custom CSS. So I'm really loving it. Check out CSS, Tailwind CSS, if you haven't before, and I guarantee you're gonna love it as well. So thanks for following along. Like the video. I'm gonna be putting out some more content in React just like this. You're gonna see some more Tailwind content for sure here in our future React projects. So thanks for watching, you guys. I'll see you on the next one.